Yo, Lee. I think we got another one.
Come on.
Sing it.
Thought you should know that I will never ever go away.
So you'll never have to worry.
As long as I care for the sparrows in the sky.
You will never have to worry.
Though it may seem today that I'm so far away from you. You never have to fall, 'cause I'm right here before you call my name. And I'll come running to heal you, feel you, take you by the hand, and I'll show you the way to where I am. Thought you should know that I would never ever go away.
You'll never have to worry.
As long as I care for the sparrows in the sky.
Never have to worry.
Forget your yesterdays for when this night to brand new day gives way. Your life, your breath renewed. A ray of sun reminds you it's okay. You'll never be alone if you feel me, hear me, take me into your heart, and we'll never ever have to part. Thought you should know that I would never ever go away.
Never have to worry.
As long as I care for the sparrows in the sky.
Never have to worry about a thing. Don't have to worry. You will never have to worry about a thing. Don't have to worry about a thing.
Thought you should know that I would never ever go.
You'll never have to worry.
As long as I care for the sparrows in the sky. Oh yeah, don't worry. Said I never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread.
You'll never have to worry.
Consider the lilies, how they grow. Whatever you need, your Father knows. Oh, come on, let me say.
Oh, you'll never. Don't you know you never have to worry? I will always be there. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Said you will never have to worry. You will never have to worry. Oh, yes.
Just between you and me, this is nice. There's no tricks. Ooh, this love is just between you and me. This is not. Ooh, there's no tricks. This love is. Just what do I have to do to let you know? Should I make your flowers grow? Should I make it rain or snow? Yeah. So many things I've done just for you. Forest green and ocean blue. Just to show my love is true. Just between you and me. This is nice. There's no tricks. This love is so
Wow. That show. There we go. What's up, y'all?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, y'all?
What's up, y'all?
So we have a guest in the
Tony
back, as you can
Harvey?
see.
I'm sorry, I just saw Tony Harvey. I'm
You,
so sorry.
You never
I'm
seen
sorry.
Tony Harvey on here
I'm
before?
sorry, I have not seen Tony. I think maybe once, but anyway.
But Tony be on here sometimes.
Hey, Tony
You know what I'm saying?
Harvey.
What's up, Tony? Good to
Okay,
see you, man.
Now you can talk about.
And,
I'm sorry,
and
I didn't mean to cut you
Brian
off.
said, I see James Lewis in the
No,
back.
people can't
So
see
he's a
us.
little out of focus because, James is, sitting behind where the depth of field is a little bit, kind of deep back there.
You wanna?
We have a guest, as you can see. So if you want to know why this guest is here, it's because of this.
Live from Washington, D.C., you are listening to Just John and April on the Lance J Radio Network.
That is Lance J right there. So the Lance J Radio Network is sitting in our studio right now.
We are honored to have the Lance J Radio Network sitting behind us right now.
He normally lives in Nashville, Tennessee, but he is here in town really doing some business, actually.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think you guys already know James has graciously asked us to join him on Wednesday. So he's on 5 days a week on WVOL here in Washington, D.C., every Wednesday night at 7. Every night at 7, Monday through Friday. And we're on one of his
Wednesday
segments
night
on
shows.
Wednesdays.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we are like, so excited to have him in the back.
Exactly. And he just got finished grubbing.
I really wanted him to sit right here.
He might fall asleep
and
during the
let
show.
me take a break, but he was like, no, I can't do that. So,
That's a good idea. That's exactly what we're going to do.
Yes,
So we're going to do a
we'll
segment
do that.
so he can talk to us about his perception on relationships. And, you guys can chop it up with him a little bit. All right, we're saying hi to everybody. Hi. So Tony said hi. He said, what's up, April? Randy's saying hi. Shalimar saying, hey, guys. Of course, Primo saying, get it. Apparently,
What up,
he was
Primo?
watching while you were. And then Jeremiah, that's great.
Yes, Jeremiah, I'm actually fine. I was dealing with something that had nothing
Yeah,
to
we got
with
work-related stuff
other
going
stuff
on the
that
show
I had
tonight,
to
which is
just,
crazy.
and I didn't realize that you were seeing me respond. But anyway, I'm fine. This actually is making me much better.
I think so,
So
too.
I hope you guys are good. We're excited about tonight's show.
We are. We have something tonight that we think is going to be a good topic. Tony is agreeing. He said this topic looks incredible. We're talking about the pressure to provide. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got some guests on the show that we think could give us some perspective on this particular topic. And so we're going to go to them in a few seconds. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you guys know about our free intimacy assessment that you can take. And so if you know nothing about it, go to our website right now, yourtotalintimacy.com, and you can get it immediately, actually.
Yes, you can.
You can get it free, and it will give you information about your intimacy level. It will kind of test you or whatever. You and your spouse can both take it and get the information there. So we invite you to do that.
Yes, and it's really good because sometimes you could be surprised at the results. Like, wow, I didn't realize we need a little boost.
Exactly.
So I think it'll be good for every couple.
I think the biggest
And
thing.
it's free,
I think the
so,
biggest thing is that my score might come a certain way, and then yours will be totally different. And I'm
True.
thinking,
But I
oh
think
man, I
that's-
didn't realize she.
You
thought.
need to know that.
Right.
That's
I
something
agree.
you need to know.
I agree.
Yeah.
So anyway, feel free to take it. Yourtotalintimacy.com, absolutely free. You go there, take the assessment, you and your spouse, and get your results. And I think it will help you. All right.
You ready, babe?
Yes, I am ready. So we've got two people that are on our show tonight. They are husband and wife, and we're going to introduce them to you now. We're going to make them big on the screen. This is. Sorry, Nadia. I didn't.
You were ready. You were ready. I was stretching.
That.
I was stretching for a little bit.
What's up, guys?
This is Bobby and Nadia Kennedy. And we're excited to have them on the show tonight.
Yes.
And actually, I think this went back to a time when we were on the show with each other, I don't know, earlier in the pandemic. It might have been like January or something like that. We had a totally different show that we were on. I think Bobby invited us to be on your show.
It was the men's show that we do. That was like in March.
Yes, that's
exactly.
right. And that's when I knew, though. That's when I knew we have to have Bobby and Nadia because Nadia, She be talking. She be saying some stuff.
It's not just
some
that.
Good stuff,
There was
Nadia.
something that you guys revealed in that session that wasn't it wasn't planned. It wasn't part of our conversation. It just came up somehow.
Right.
And we said we got to have them back on the show to talk about that. But anyway, before we get to that, I want to say really quickly, this guy, Bobby Kennedy, I've known him since I was in high school. I guess he's more like a brother. Like a much older brother.
Oh,
come on.
It's the beard.
Come on.
Hence the beard.
But
John's right behind you.
But this is what happened, guys. So April and I were plugging away. We had been doing our podcast for like a year. Never did anything live. And then Bobby did this thing. It was like the live something challenge. What did you call it, Bobby? I can't remember. Go live challenge?
Video live. I don't remember which one. It was a Storytellers Live challenge. I don't remember which one it was. But we did several of them.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
So we happened to see it. It was this free thing that you were doing for several days.
We were actually on vacation.
We were.
Oh snap!
We
That's
joined
right.
anyway. But we joined anyway.
We joined anyway.
Yes.
We were like in the car and stuff. So we came on, and you were basically encouraging people to live stream. And April and I were like.
Yeah. I was like, I can't do that.
There's no way we're doing that.
I'm so sorry. I need to be able to edit.
Right.
because
you
don't know what
you're going to
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you encouraged us, and because of that, we have this show that we're doing right now. It's because of
Bobby Kennedy.
Aloysius Kennedy. I know his actual real name, but his middle name, but I'm not going to tell you that. I know his real name, but that's not fair.
So
I'll call you
definitely give you the credit for that because
I appreciate you.
I was not about to go live. So,
so thank you, man.
Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We know you're behind everything, Nadia. But
I think I just inject myself right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell us?
I'm sorry, my sister just showed up. What up,
Anyway,
girl?
hey Kim. Okay, so let's start with this so that people can kind of know you a little bit. How long have you guys been married? Do you guys have any kids? We know the answer to all this stuff, but tell the audience so we can know. And actually, I'm actually curious to know where you guys met.
Okay, we can tell you all of that. Where you want to start? You want to start?
You can start. Go ahead.
We've been married. August made 21 years. And
wow.
Yeah, so I proposed on January 1st, 2000, and we got married in August of 2000. And I did 2000 so that I wouldn't get lost with the math. I always knew how many years we've been married, like just by what year it was.
Well, the thing is, we met in July of 1999, so it was pretty quick
for the first time.
For the first time.
That was the first time you ever met?
No way, guys.
I
did not know that.
First time.
Yeah.
So July, we met.
We met in July. I asked her out in September. Yeah, we had our first date in August. I asked her out in September, and we got engaged on January 1st.
Wow!
You are kidding
21
me,
years
guys.
ago.
And y'all still together, strong.
Where did you guys actually meet, though? Were you guys at school on campus somewhere?
No.
I didn't go to AUC.
Our group, our group was singing at a wedding in Massachusetts, and her brother and his wife came up to the wedding. And they saw us singing, blah blah blah. His wife, her sister-in-law, saw the group and went back and was like, "Let's bring this group down to Jersey to do a concert at our church." And so we came down to do the concert at the church. And at the end, we sang in the morning. And at the end of the service, I was outside talking to some people, and she came up to me and she was like, "You're going to be coming over to our house for lunch." And, I kind of looked, I was like, oh, she's cute. But I was in the middle of something. So I kind of went back and
Nadia got
I didn't see her again. So we go to the house, we have lunch. I don't see her at all during lunch. And we come back, we have our concert. At the end of the concert, we're packing up the van and we're getting ready to leave. And my sister-in-law, Jessica, says, hey, there was this girl in the kitchen at the house and she was really nice. You should talk to her. I was like, okay, whatever. So I saw her after Jessica pointed her out. I went over to her. I said, hey, we struck up some good conversation. And she had a couple of friends that came to the car that were like instigating stuff, starting stuff up.
Yep, but the rest is history. Here we are.
Wow.
I had no idea, guys.
I had no clue, man.
Wow.
That's good stuff. Okay, how many kids you guys have?
Tres.
We have 3 kids. Two boys and one girl.
And one's at college.
One's in college.
Which I'm still
Yes.
in denial about that. But that's
We are too. We are too.
You're right. You're right behind.
You know,
Y'all got like what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
something like
Come
that.
on.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I'm in
I
denial.
don't want to think about that right now. I don't want to think about that right now.
No, not tonight. Not tonight.
Okay,
It's
so
good. It's good.
I have it right here.
Oh, you have it. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
All right, you have
I
it.
got
Okay.
you.
Sorry,
I got
babe.
you.
I'm sorry. I was trying to get the question.
Come on, babe. Come on. I got you.
All right, good.
You're not supposed to say that.
You're
out
right.
loud.
Well, the people know we're not just making up questions on our own.
Hey,
You
come
know what
on.
I'm
We
saying?
are. We're making up questions as we go along. We do that all the time. All right, so let's get to the nitty. So, well, tell us first of all, what do you do for a living?
Yes, because that's what I think kind of sets up our subject. The
Yes.
subject is about the pressure to provide this idea that, Anyway, we'll ask you about that in a second. But tell us what you guys do for a living.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I am a project manager for a financial services company. So I've been in that industry for about 20 plus years. So
Wow.
pretty stable, pretty 9 to 5.
Traditional.
Not that exciting, but it pays
Right.
me.
Okay. What about you, Bobby?
Yeah. I run a training company. We do communication and presentation, public speaking training for organizations, corporations, and then the other side of our business, what we call the B2C, business to customer side. We help business owners, small business owners, create visibility online through the art of storytelling, especially on video.
Okay. So you are an entrepreneur, Bobby.
Yes. Yep.
I've known you more than half of my life. I feel like you've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but you did not start off as an entrepreneur when you were married, correct? Or were you? Like, when you guys met, were you already in that lane, or were you doing something more traditional, 9 to 5? You know what I'm saying? Tell us about that.
I was a teacher. I was a science teacher in high school.
Really?
When we met.
Why did I
Yeah.
not know that?
But he mentioned it
Yeah.
in the previous thing. He
don't
said
remember
that
that. I
in the
don't
other
remember
interview,
that.
but it was so
Okay.
long ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think that though he was always a creative. I didn't meet that guy. I met the musician. I met the guy that was leading the group, the band. He was, one of the lead singers. So that I met the creative, not the teacher. So that was
So the point though is you did already have in your mind at least that this is a creative, and you're not saying he's a creative person, you're saying a creative. So that clearly denotes something in your mind about that tribe of people.
I want to say that I don't know. He was different because I'm in traditional West Indian family. You just have a job, you work, you save your money. It's you know what you're doing. You're a teacher, you're a nurse, whatever it is. So it's not like it's pretty straightforward. So to be a musician was just kind of something you did on the side, and it's exciting,
right.
and that's what was attractive about the whole persona of Bobby.
So did you expect it to stay that way? That's the question. Did you say, oh, he's probably going to try to go into those things, or did you say, this being a side gig, I'm cool with that. Like, I expect it to stay like this.
That's what I thought. Yes, it's going to be a side gig. We'll sing and we'll do some concerts at wherever, and we'll have an album, and then it'll be a side thing. That's what I thought, and it was wonderful. I liked him living his dream.
Now, was that expectation verbalized, or was that just something you had in your own head?
I think it was in my head. I don't think he mentioned ever wanting to be a superstar singer. So it was like, oh, we'll just sing at church. That's going to be great.
Okay.
I don't think, yeah.
Okay, so take us now through whatever it was that happened to kind of change that and to give you this other perspective about what employment might look like when it comes to Bobby and whatever.
Well, I think it didn't start out like employment. It started out like, if you know Bobby, he's all about gadgets and toys. So it was music and CDs and albums. So there was a lot of money going into being a musician. There was the keyboard, there was, all the gadgets. So it was a lot of spend that was kind of that struck me first. Like, oh my gosh, this is before unlimited calling. So being on the phone when maybe we're aging ourselves, but you had to pay per minute back in the day when you talk to somebody, so, the phone bill was high, things like that is what struck me first. Like, okay, well, this is what we have and we're spending all of this. And,
so let me put some context around that as well. Yes. So we get married 2001, we have this conversation and she's like, dude, you're spending too much money on CDs. I'm like, I gotta have the latest CDs. The new
commission, stuff like that?
Yeah, everything. Everything. Like if it came out on Tuesday, I had it on Tuesday. If there was another one coming out on Thursday, I had it. I had people thought of me as like the gospel library at the time because if it was out, I had it. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm committed to my family, but I gotta have my CDs. I gotta have my music somehow. Wow. So I don't remember how I figured it out, but I figured out that I could call the A&R representatives at record companies and call the PR people and say, hey, I want to interview your artists. And they would send me free CDs.
Wow.
So I called the A&R representative at, I think it was Verity Records at the time. And I don't remember which artist I wanted to interview at the time, but they were like, what's your website? I was like, hold on. We're working on something. Let me get back to you in 2 days. I had no website. So in 2 days, I learned how to build websites. I learned HTML in 2 days. Oh my God. Put up a website, and then we started to get CDs and stuff from there. So that was the genesis of the first business that started to kind of do some things. We put up a website, we added an internet radio station to it, started to get a little bit of ad revenue, that type of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, so how did you deal with that, Nadia? Because this was
I want to know what's happening inside of you
exactly
at this
because
time.
this is time consuming. I'm sure
it is. It is.
So all of a sudden things change. So things are never the same because anything can come up, and then now all of a sudden, I want to do this. I'm about to learn how to do it. Like, how did that work for you?
No, that's always been him. So that was kind of fast paced. I knew I was jumping into his fast paced kind of way of thinking and doing and moving. I think what struck me that I can articulate now, 21 years later, that I didn't know then is it was more of, hey, I want to do this thing and I'm just going to do it. And I'm not thinking about all of the costs and the other stuff that comes with doing this thing. And the fact that I need money from it. So it's like, I'm passionate about it. I'll just do it. Maybe they'll pay me. Maybe they won't.
Okay.
But I'm spending to have the latest whatever. So I think that was the first.
Well, it wasn't just kind of a maybe they'll pay me, maybe they won't. It was kind of like I'm investing into this idea. We're building. I'm like, oh, this could be something else. This could be something bigger. I didn't start out that way, but as it starts, I see there's possibility in it. I'm like, okay, let's invest in it. So I pour my time into it. I pour our money into it. Right. And so, it begins to grow and build, man. So.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. I think it's on here. I think this is one of the questions that we have. Did you guys both grow up in what some might call traditional homes in terms of how you think of which one of the two is supposed to be the provider? Did you both come from traditional homes in that regard? And just tell us, what is it that you would have expected about providing, whose job that is? What does that look like, just based on your upbringing? And did you bring that to your relationship and say, this is probably what is going to happen now that we're married?
I think for me, both my parents worked. And so they were 50-50 kind of contributors to our life. So it wasn't, my mother she wasn't a stay-at-home mom. She always was working, and that was just it. So both my parents worked. So I never thought of, maybe husband is supposed to provide more for a wife. It was always you stand on your own 2 feet and you have something always. So that's my thinking. So I never thought about him providing for me in that way. It was us building together. So that was my mindset.
So on my side, my mom worked. She was a teacher when I was a little kid. And then when we moved from Jamaica to the US, she was home. And so she was home for quite a while, and until, I don't know, she was home for at least maybe another 10 years or so. And then she started to go back to school, and then she began to work. So I didn't have this thought process of, oh, my dad has to be the only provider. However, implied in how we grew up, from a biblical perspective, a church perspective, societal perspective, as a man, I've got to provide. I've got to be. I gotta make sure that I'm bringing the bacon, the veggie bacon.
The bake, right?
Yeah.
So was there a time in your relationship where, as you were trying to start your own business, where income wasn't coming in?
Which time?
Which time?
And what I really want to know, though, is, because that's a perfect question, what I want to know is, in the instances that happened, what did that do to your thought process in terms of your feeling about being a provider?
Right.
And maybe on top of that, did Nadia help or hurt that?
Woo! So the first business that we just talked about, I was still teaching full time. I started another business after that, a web development company. I was still teaching full time.
So she was all right with the side gigs.
Right. So here's what changes. We moved to Maryland in 2008.
No, it changed.
Woo asked, why did you move to Maryland? Woo just asked that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it changed before then.
Okay.
I think what happened is when we had our first baby, I was working 2 hours away. So I quit my job when we had our first baby.
Wow.
So I quit my job and I stayed home. So at that point, the dynamic shift where he is now the only person working, right?
Okay.
So we did that for a little while, and he was teaching. So that was fine. We were teaching, and how we made it, the grace of God. But we had a baby, a house, and on a teacher's salary. And so you know what that looked like.
You don't even
but
have to
anyway, and so that's where it kind of shifted a little bit. So then after that, a year, I'm not a stay-at-home mom. So I went back to work, and he stayed home for that next year.
Right.
And I think it was in that space where he then said, okay, well, I'm home. I'm going to do some creative things. So that's when he decided to say, okay, well, I'm going to make some money. Yes. And so that's what opened the door for like full-time entrepreneurial thinking. I think that's what kind of cracked the door for that.
Yeah.
So
and when that happened, Nadia, you felt what? You felt like, okay, this is cool? Or, I'm not sure about this. How'd you feel?
Well, at that point now, by the time that happened, we're now at 2 kids. And I think that it's okay if you do it. It's a lot of time, but there wasn't any income. So I think that's where it was, the beginnings of every, people see the end, but the beginnings of your business, there's very little income, or at least for our experience. And if you're doing it full time, you don't have the buffer of, it being a side gig until it's big enough to stand on its own.
Right.
He jumped off the cliff and we were trying to live on a budding business. So that's what it was.
So our special guest in the back says, "Thank God for closed caption."
He can't hear.
I'm not engaged. I'm actually on my cell phone.
He's on his phone watching the episode.
Hear, so I'm reading the closed caption. It's like in real small print.
Yeah.
So it's like moving real fast. So I'm trying to read it. So I don't really understand that I'm back here and I'm like looking at the scores. I'm trying to keep
you're actually paying attention.
And I just want to say, if you are and you see this is a very good topic,
Right.
and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced these types of things because, especially now with the pandemic, people have decided I'm done with working.
A lot of people say that.
for anyone
Yes,
else.
yes.
So
Right.
go ahead
The
and
great
share
resignation.
right now.
Share this joint,
Just
like,
share this
immediately.
joint. Just share
Yes.
it real quick. It doesn't take anything. Just
Right.
press share.
Yeah.
And so you were saying.
I think
No.
I
yes.
want to
So
hear
I
Bobby's
wanted to
side
say,
of that.
okay, go ahead, Bobby.
I want to hear Bobby's
Yeah.
side of that same
So-
thing, what
Right.
it was doing to you
Oh
on
yeah,
the inside.
so she goes back to work. She's like, I'm feeling totally unproductive at home. So she goes back to work. And I go back to school, but I also decide I'm going to become a real estate agent. Right?
Oh,
So
wow. You've
I
done
become
everything.
a real estate agent, which is a like independent contractor type thing. So I'm, hustling, I'm taking our daughter to house showings, etc. So I'm doing that, but we get to a place where we're like, we still need more income. So I'm still a real estate agent, but I get a job also teaching online for a university. So we're school, real estate, doing this stuff. She's working. So all of this stuff is happening. We're kind of at this place where we are, feeling like, at least I am, feeling like I don't want to be in Massachusetts, which is where we were at the time. And so, there's a lot of stuff inside of that. But long story short, we decide that we're going to leave Massachusetts to come to Maryland. I'm still teaching online at this point. She gets a job in Maryland and we move to Maryland. So we get to Maryland June 30th, 2008. July 10th, 2008, I lose my job for that online university.
Wow.
I do the regular thing and I start applying. I'm on Monster, I'm on Indeed, I'm whatever. And for 5 or 6 months, I'm getting no responses. It's not even like I get a response, I go for an interview, I don't get the job. I'm getting no responses, nothing.
Now, 2008,
So,
that's when the bubble burst, so that's probably a lot to do with it,
Yes.
right? I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So in about December, I kind of saw some of the things coming with the job losing situation. So I was already kind of processing some things. So about December, I get a contract with someone developing courses for a university or for a college. And so I get that contract and then I get another one and then I got a third one and then I get a fourth one. And then I'm like, I start a company. So I registered.
That's all you do.
Well, so I guess if I step back a little bit and if I were to spill the tea in full transparency,
Come on, honey,
think
bring it.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah,
it on.
yeah.
Bring it. That's what
somewhere
I've been
in my
waiting on.
mind, him being an entrepreneur was always a side thing. So
Yeah.
even when it was a full-time thing, one of the I guess tips that we would have is I would work whatever hours that I needed to at my job because it was the main thing. And it was like, okay, when I came home it would infringe on him building his business because I didn't stick to the time that I'm supposed to be at work. I go in, I come home, whatever the job needed. And in my mind, it's a side thing, but in his mind, it's a full-time thing. And that bothered him for a long time.
Wow.
Okay. Until it came out again, even like 10, 15 years later, it came in about how he felt about how I treated his work.
So please
So-
expound on that. Because
I want to know how you felt.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Can we get a little deeper
Yeah.
there?
Well,
Uh-oh.
So she's at work. We've got 3 little kids at this time. So Jaden was 5 months
Oh my.
when we moved to Maryland. Brittany was 4, just turning 5, and Robert was 2. Right. So when she's at work, I'm trying to do things. I'm trying to search for jobs, but I'm also trying to build this other thing at the same time. So I've got the kids. I've got to pick up from school. Brittany started school. So we've got 3 things. So when she takes long, I feel like, man, you don't respect me, or you don't really, you kind of see what I'm doing, but you're just kind of like, it's a side thing. Let me wait for that to die down for you so that you can go back and get a real job.
Wow.
Right? So it's in my mind. I don't want to say it out loud, but it felt like she was sabotaging me on purpose.
I wasn't.
I'm sure you know she wasn't, but it just felt like it.
It felt like it.
But I want to know what was in your mind, Nadia. Like, what were you really thinking? Like, you can tell us now because y'all good now, you know.
Well, we're past it now, right? We're past it now.
Yes.
I think it was for me in my upbringing. If it's not a 9 to 5, it's like something on the side. It's not. If it doesn't have a set, 15th and 30th or every Friday kind of income, it's a side thing. And so that took a long time to get there because we hadn't built our life in a way where we could sustain the famine.
Yeah. So the thing is, a lot of times people say, if you're gonna start a business, you want to have 6 months income, you want to have stuff stashed away.
Right.
But we just moved to Maryland with 3 kids under the age of 5, and I lose my job 10 days after. So we're thrown off the cliff at this point. We don't have the opportunity to plan, but I'm not getting jobs. I'm not getting job responses. And so I'm kind of like, I got to figure out some other thing to do that's going to help my family. But also, I now have this taste of entrepreneurship. And I'm kind of like, oh,
I don't know if I can work for somebody
again. I like this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what I want to know then is, how do you get it from where you were to where you are? Did it start with something that you did, Bobby, that made Nadia feel like it was legitimate, or did you begin Nadia by saying, okay, I see this is important to him. Let me respect this as a real thing, even though growing up this wasn't real.
I really don't want you to go to that question quite
Okay,
yet.
why?
Please hold that. Do you remember that question?
I think I'll remember.
Are you going to remember that?
Yes, and if we don't, we can rewind.
We can rewind.
Yeah. What do you want to say instead?
And I really want to ask first.
So you have time to think about that.
Were you, if you remember it, because I don't even remember it right now, because I was thinking about my own question.
Okay.
What were you thinking when, Bobby, when you had to share this new dream of yours? How was that for you to share that with Nadia? Like, how did you have to get into the right space to be able to say, okay, here's this new thing I'm about to do, and I need to let her know I am about to start something new. Like, was that hard for you, or was it easy? Like, every time, because that's how it's been.
Well, I don't know that there was a lot of thought that kind of went into it. And there was not like this conversation that we had. It was just something kind of organic. It's like she's always said, I operate at 2 speeds, like 0 and 100. Right. And so we start this thing, and I get, like I said, I get 3 contracts, I get 4 contracts. Let's start a company. Right. So I'm like, boom, focused on building this thing now. And so I don't know that we had the conversation that, Nadia, I'm not going to look for a job anymore. I'm going to do this. I just kind of started doing it.
Yeah.
But I think in my mind, I kind of thought it was okay because there was some dollars coming in at the time.
Okay.
So you thought the money you were making justified the ability to do this because
I think
you were actually making some money.
You think
yes.
so?
Now, how did you feel about that, though, Nadia?
Yeah, like, him not saying anything to you, but okay, here's another thing. Like, how did you respond to that?
Okay, I will say that what you see now, the company that you see now, it's taken literally 21 years to build, and it's had different faces over time. And so what it started out with, all right, we're going to do music, and then we're going to do production, and then from production I'm going to do, and so it's always been morphing into this new idea. So the first few is like, oh yeah, that's great. By the 10th, you're like, dude, pick something and let's stay the course for a little while. But I didn't see then that it was literally, we're building on different skills to get here. In the moment, I'm like, just stick with something long enough to make it profitable enough. Then we can, but it was an evolving thing, and that I wasn't ready. That roller coaster I wasn't ready for.
So am I hearing you say now that 21 years later, as you look back at it, you actually see it all as an amalgamation of the same thing, as opposed to one thing then jump into something else? You feel like it was something that was just morphing into what it is now.
Yeah.
And all the skills that were learned along the way are what are being used now in this specific thing that's going on.
Yes.
She says to me all the time, she's like, nothing's wasted.
Nothing is wasted.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think even when he was making money, if we go back to the part, I think the spend for a lot of it, the spend was more than the income. So I think that was where some of our, like, you know what it takes to put a whole studio together. I mean,
Yes.
and you know,
Listen. April can't
Bobby,
relate. April can't relate to any of
Listen,
this.
yes, I can.
everything.
Because
No,
I
she
had to.
can't.
Listen, if John talked to Bobby, we were spending money. Okay?
you
That's it.
spend money.
All John had to do was have
Everybody.
a 5-minute conversation with Bobby, and money was gone.
Now,
Money was being spent.
Now,
okay?
I'm the one that got Bobby to buy some of the more recent stuff too. Actually,
Listen,
They don't need to talk to each other.
he didn't even
They
know.
don't-
He didn't even know the M1 was out yet.
Friendship.
You said what?
Let's
You said
not
what?
tax our friendship, because in this room right now there's about 10 monitors, right? And so I think
That's what he wants.
so. But you have to be ready for it. So we didn't realize that we needed a balance. You know, we didn't plan for. I would say anybody in this journey, you really have to plan for the famine. When there was feast, we spent it. And then there was famine, we were struggling. So that happened for a long time. So I think, you know, you really have to pace yourself where you know, January's great, but there could be nothing in February. And then
And you didn't have the thing planned out to be able to keep it so that, you needed more of a Joseph, let's put away for 7 years type thing. And then when we got famine,
we didn't
still
do
got
that.
some.
Straight,
We didn't
yeah.
do
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
so
didn't.
back to my question then. I can ask you now?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the
So glad
the
you
question
remembered.
I do remember. So the question I have is, it sounds like something changed, something clicked at some point, and I want to know, did the click start with Bobby doing something or with Nadia doing something? Was it Nadia who said, I can see now he's taking this seriously, I probably need to start supporting his dream to be an entrepreneur? Or was it you, Bobby, or maybe it was something else? Was it you, Bobby, that all of a sudden made enough money so that now Nadia could respect this as something legit? Like, which thing happened first? And maybe it was something else. I don't know. How'd you get to this place where you're good now?
I think you got to start answering that.
I think I realized that being an entrepreneur is who he is. And so I think I stopped fighting it in that way.
Wow.
And so I think now I just, I help him manage, you know, keep the balance going. Because, you know, we talk about the creative, when you are, this is your sole business, everything else kind of hits the bottom line. So I help him balance that, you know, things like church, things like being on the board at schools and all of that. That's like money because he's not promoting or building or creating or whatever at that time. So I think I just decided at that point, I'm going to support him and kind of fill in the gaps that really irk me. So that was kind of what how we're here. It was like I couldn't fight it. It was like I would be killing part of who he is if I didn't somehow figure out how we were going to make it work. So, and we're still figuring it out. So,
That's what marriage is, though.
You got a good wife,
Yeah.
Bobby. You got a good wife.
I do.
he does.
I do.
He does.
I do. I do.
I agree.
do. I know. High five.
What were you going to say, Bobby?
Well, no, I think one of the pivotal moments for me was I had at some point put my head down because there were two moments during this last 12-year journey since we've been in Maryland, 13-year journey, where business blew up and I had to go back to corporate. So one time I went back to corporate and I was there for 10 months and the company lost its government RFP. And so the company shut down and I had to go back. So now I'm back to figuring it out. Stuff is still not working. So about 2 years later, I go back to work for another company and I'm there for 10 months. And on the 10th month, they lose a $10 million contract. I have to let go all of the people in the Maryland area.
Wow.
And at that point, I clearly hear God saying to me, dude, this is not what I built you for, right? You're not, this is not your space. You need to trust me. You need to trust me. And so I say, okay. And I start doing some things. So this is when public speaking starts to come into space. I go to Toastmasters, I do certain things. I start finding some traction there. and I start finding some traction in business, and it's small, and then it starts to build. And I think one of the things that she liked at the time was that I also wasn't going like gangbusters, full sale, spending everything, but there was some level of kind of slowly building some things at the time. And so I remember having a few different contracts and some consistency happening. And we're driving somewhere. I think we're driving to New Jersey. And there's a portion of the trip. I think most husband and wives, a lot of us, we kind of talk while we're driving. But this one day we were not talking. We were driving, but it was like comfortable silence. We were just there. And she broke the silence, and she just kind of turned to me, and she was like, you know, babe, you're doing well. And I was kind of like, you don't remember that? Listen, I remember it because it like, if I could have shed a tear, if I mean it.
Yeah. Let's make
honestly, it was.
we gotta see his cheeks.
No. All right. No, it was a moment where I felt like it was just kind of this mixture of a proud moment, like, yo, you did it. You did some stuff. You kind of made it to this place, and just kind of this moment where I'm like, I hope I say this right. I felt like my wife sees me.
Wow. Listen.
Right?
There's something about that.
Listen.
I'm telling you, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah. But I mean, it's so she did some stuff, but I also had to do like the work of consistency in some ways as well. And so, I met with like a lot of my mentors. I'll shout out Bob Wallace is a mentor of mine. And, that's one thing that he said to me. He's like, listen, if you want to get your wife on your side, you at some point, you've got to show like consistency, not just consistency with sticking with it, but then there's got to be some income consistency. Did
he know Nadia?
Yeah, Nadia.
Okay, so he was speaking from.
Well, no, he's speaking from his perspective because he went through the thing where he told his wife he was going to start an engineering company. This was like back in the day. And so she was like, okay, cool. But you got to do these things. And so there were some parameters around it.
But also I want to call out, there's all that going on between us. But then you've got, we've got to present a united front to the street who don't understand what the heck Bobby's doing. What, like Tommy, like you see, and so that also, I mean, because we really put everything into, building an entrepreneur. We had 3 kids in Adventist school, so private school, and so all of these things we kind of were sacrificing for, but it was that you also had that turmoil where, like, you had even his parents like, what are you doing, Bobby? Where my parents, so that pressure also was there that people don't talk about. Like,
that's so true. From the family and friends who see you, keep asking you what you're doing now.
And so that's really what I want. I want to hone in on for a second there, Bobby, if you don't mind, because I know there are a lot of husbands that watch this show that are watching right now, and maybe other men who are not married who are thinking about this idea as they think about the pressure to provide. What was that like? Did you feel that pressure? And how did you and what did you do about it?
I used to think Bobby was a nurse.
So I thought you were no, that's Leighton, right?
Leighton's
a nurse.
Okay.
Who just said I used to think Bobby was a nurse? You were wrong, sir.
Yeah. So, it was there because it goes back to the question that you asked at the beginning about, where did that mentality of providing come from? And so I always felt like as a man, I had to provide. And when I say provide, it doesn't mean that I need to be the sole provider, the breadwinner, or make the greatest salary in the house. Because as a teacher, you sure enough know I wasn't making the
what happening.
So, but I did have this thought process of I have to contribute. I have to be a leader. I have to be a part of the financial upkeep of our household. So when it wasn't happening, there was this huge weight. There was this huge weight on me. And so then trying to navigate that along with what she's talking about with other people looking on, other people saying stuff. And so one of the things that I did, and I don't know if this was healthy or not, but when I need to kind of separate things, I separate.
Wow.
And so I locked into some stuff, and I did not have conversations with people. I didn't text people. I didn't. Well, it wasn't really. It was an intentional withdrawal. It wasn't like
Was it
wasn't
like deliberate
I was mad.
compartmentalization kind of thing?
I had to because I could not take in everybody's stuff while I was going through my own.
Right.
Right. And so let's get real, baby. So let's get real for a second. So
More
so
real?
no, more real. So this stuff is happening
Like, I think
outside.
you said enough, honey.
but inside of our relationship at home now, we've got some stuff happening. I mean, and so I'm gonna get real raw here. We had a moment where she said, "Babe, I felt like taking the kids and moving to Mexico."
I do. I said that. I said that all the time. Yeah, I did. I felt that way. You did say that. I did say that. Where I thought that he had lost it. That I thought he lost it. Like, I thought he lost touch with reality.
Yeah,
like
because
in
he was
his
so
world, you didn't need
withdrawn.
money.
Yes.
Well, not the withdrawal. It wasn't at the withdrawal state. I think he just, to me, had lost touch with the reality of needing income. So it was just the creative space. I want to do this, and so I'm like, look, he's lost it. I'm going to grab my kids, get in a car, and we're going to drive to Mexico and figure it out, right?
So here's what a piece of that is, though. It's kind of like she's seeing me trying to hustle, trying to struggle to make this, and the income is not coming, and she's kind of like, well, dude, when I met you, you were a teacher. Why don't you go back to teach? And I'm kind of like, well, if I make that left turn, I'm not gonna focus on this thing. I cannot. I can't do that and try to lock into this thing. And that would be going backwards.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted him to have a 9-to-5 and this. So I wanted them both to happen. So that was where we had to.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bobby, you just said, oh, now we're going to get down. We're going to really tell it. We're going to really tell it. So now you have given me permission to ask this question. Okay. Just because you said that. How did this affect, and we're all about total intimacy, total intimacy, okay? Not just the bedroom, total, okay? How did this affect your intimacy, your total intimacy?
Did it affect it?
Yeah. Did you feel like there was, some time where you were apart in a way as it came to intimacy in your relationship because of this? And is this something that could affect that, You feel like this is something that could?
I think it did. It was, but I think it did. So when we were having a financial pinch, I think that was a trigger for it impacted our intimacy because I felt like he could do something different. But other than that, we were able to navigate other phases of our marriage. And so that's where the intimacy still worked. But whenever we hit a financial pinch, that's when I felt like I shut everything down.
So
at that
let me be even more real and honest. My wife is amazing, and here's why I say that. She never used sex or intimacy she didn't weaponize it in any way.
Yeah.
Right? She never did any of those things. I mean, so let's get even more raw. There were times where we were making love and I knew she was mad at me.
Wow.
Yeah, there were.
Mercy.
I knew she was upset with me. I knew it.
Right.
Yeah.
So so I think part of it is this though. She's grown up in this situation where she had some not always positive models of marriage. And so she had already made up in her mind in our conversations that we're going to do what it takes to make our marriage work. So it's kind of like, even if I'm mad at you, even if I'm not totally thrilled with how you're operating right this moment, I recognize that there's some pillars. I recognize that there's some things. I'm not ever going to put you in a situation where we're mad and you lack or you're not receiving this important piece of our marriage, and so you go somewhere else to seek it. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that is like, I don't know if I've said it, and I don't know that she knows how much I appreciate that.
Wow.
I have not said it. I love
That's
it.
huge,
Thank
though.
you.
And April and I talk about that kind of thing all the time.
Listen, guys.
Hey, guys, the people are
This
chiming in right
is-
now like crazy
This is
on
what
that.
I'm talking about. We promote this all the time. We always talk about this because I was
Yeah.
called an alien for saying that.
Yeah.
Literally, those were the words. I was an alien. And I'm saying,
Yeah.
no, this is what needs to be taught. This is what we need to know because it's about making sure this thing lasts. That we get through stuff. We got to get through stuff. What we going to do? We got to,
By the way, there's someone here that's saying, Nadia, please form an entrepreneur wife club.
You guys need to support
I'll be a
me.
founding
We do.
member.
We do.
Yes.
This is Naomi.
Naomi Claxton,
Yeah.
she understands.
It
She
is.
knows, she knows.
It is. It's rough. It can be rough sometimes, and then yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that could be a true club, definitely.
You're right.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
for sure.
we're gonna end with a couple more questions, but these are kind of rapid fire. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give couples where one is a dreamer and the other one is a realist?
If that's what you
If
guys
that's what you
call
guys are.
yourselves.
Yeah, or
I don't like that
dreamer
realist
You don't
word.
like realistic.
I'll say-
you can use it. That's true. It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
Oh, let's say
creative
one is a
and-
dream,er the other one is a 9 to 5. Okay,
More
Right.
let's
traditional,
say
right?
that.
You can say the real. Yeah. That's fine. I think that at some point creatives, at least in my perspective, they don't think about all the details. They're in the creation space. So if you're going to support them, you've got to just accept that your role is to make sure that you keep the balance. So you might need to be in charge of the money, and you might need to make sure that the spending and the budget, so that they don't always operate, or at least this creative doesn't operate that well in this space. So I mean, I think knowing that, I think saving money, like planning for the famine, is something I would tell people to do, even if you have to squirrel away and it's just a month's worth of whatever.
Yeah.
That is like huge, because the famine does come. Like it absolutely comes. Even when you
good advice.
make you work, you may not get paid when you think it is.
Right.
People may not have it. Oh, I'll give it to you whenever. So I think those are two things that I think, nothing's wasted. I always say that,
Yeah.
but if I could do it again, I would have planned a little bit better and started squirreling away money for times when we needed it. So I think those are two.
Yeah, and I agree with both of those. I think one of the things that I had also learned on the way here is that when things started to build for us was when I had at least one part of my business that was consistent. And I had a larger contract that was consistent that allowed some things to kind of develop. And, when you have that large whale, or you have that piece that is consistent, then you can kind of experiment around the edges with some other things, which is kind of what we were able to begin doing. And I know it's not always easy to get there, but you've got to figure out a way to find at least one area of consistency from a revenue perspective in your business.
Yeah.
And wow, that's what Wu said. You need at least one consistent person. Well, he was saying consistent person.
You do.
Right.
But yeah.
And I mean, when you go through an entrepreneur, it can wreak havoc on your credit. I see Wu's question. More important is good credit. It can wreak havoc on your credit. Like,
And,
that was part of the story we didn't talk about, but
yeah, that's
we're in a good place now. But
I like what Naomi said right there. If you could put that back up, her first, because she says trust is major, especially when the dreamer says God told me. You have to trust them and their relationship with God, and yours has to be tight. That's a good point. Because you have to trust what God has shown them.
Yeah. And sometimes I say now I need God to tell me too. So that needs to be part of your prayer. So he can't just talk to you. He's got to talk to us in some way. And usually that'll come around, but he's going to talk to me. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I'm learning, even though I do go hard at things, is that I have to also respect and validate her desire to wait and not be impulsive in certain things. So I need that. I need that counterbalance. And so I've got to say certain things or develop the habit of processing certain things. Hey babe, I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
Hey babe, I'm possibly thinking about purchasing this screen.
Ready.
Or this, yeah. What you think about it?
More than it's coming in Amazon as soon as
exactly. Or it's just on the front porch. How about it's just on the front porch? You didn't even.
It is.
The box is being
I
opened.
forgot about that.
I want to make sure I say one other thing though, and it's not. I mean, if I have to say anything to our entrepreneurs, you do have to have boundaries, not just financial, but when you work for yourself, you can be totally consumed with your work. So you really have, and that was something we experienced where, you're working, so you're working on vacation. You can't, you're taking calls at the play, and you're never really present in life because no off for the entrepreneur. So you really have to allow. And it's hard because, you're thinking I'm building a business as an opportunity, but to be intentional about other pieces of your life. You Definitely. Cannot vacation. You have that set aside for your family. Or, if I'm going to be at the Christmas play, don't take the calls during be present. So I think that's something that we
is great
definitely
advice.
That could be a whole nother show.
That could, really. That is so true, though. That is so true. You guys, you guys are awesome.
Do you have anything you want to promote?
Yes, we want to know. Do you have anything you want to promote tonight?
You
not promoting nothing.
Not promoting nothing. Just stick it out. Talk, work it out. I think just. No, I don't have a business. So, unless Bobby.
Well, you know what? You do have a business.
I do.
Right?
I do have a business. I'm the silent partner.
I think the biggest thing for me is that we do have some things that are coming up. We're almost through 2021 already. And so we're going to be launching some things early in 2022. So I just want to invite people to join me in the Storytellers Growth Lab. You can go to storytellersgrowthlab.com and check stuff out there. We're going to be launching. One of the things we're going to be launching is called the Video Storytellers Academy, and that's going to be coming up early in 2022. Wow. So look out for that. But join us in Storytellers Growth Lab. Yeah.
StorytellersGrowthLab.com. We are actually living proof of the kind of coaching that can help you to do stuff you never thought you could do.
Yes.
And Bobby is very good at motivating you and making you believe you can do something that you would have never dreamed you could do.
Bobby, you made me believe that I could do this.
And I'm saying, this is what I do for a living, so obviously
John was like, come on, babe. I was like, no.
Yeah, but it was April that needed to convince
I did not want to do this. And then I heard you, because he was telling me, no, Bobby's saying, babe, we got to do this. I was like, all right, let me listen to Bobby myself. And then
it took one day.
It did. It was like, wow, he's right. Oh my goodness. I guess it takes somebody else saying it.
Right.
Who knows what they're talking about? And you know what you're talking about. And I appreciate that because, somebody who helps other people grow, I think that is a blessing. I think you are actually blessing people with your business. And so when God told you, yo, this is what you need to do, I think that he was right based on what you're doing. Yes, yeah. So we appreciate that. And Nadia, we know you really run into business. So
in the background. Keep the spin, and yes, we try.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
People are saying thank you for being real.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you too. People are very true, agreeing with you. So you guys have been awesome sharing your story. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
By the way, I just want to say that Naomi also said, I get very touchy. She said tetchy when the computer comes out on vacation.
So,
it does.
Yes.
And
Listen.
then there was a thing when she said in all caps earlier, Nadia, call me.
Okay, I'll call you.
So clearly, this is Tanya saying, love them. Those my peeps. Tanya Brown Fret.
Hey,
that's Tana.
Tana. My bad. I'm dyslexic. I'm dyslexic.
No. As a matter of fact, her voicemail says, "It's Tana, not Tanya, not Tina."
I'm sure she gets
It is
that
Tana.
often.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, Tana. My bad. I messed up.
I don't get a segment.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
After this.
Thanks, guys.
All right, yes. To see
You gotta give the people what they want.
Yeah. You coming on. We got Lance coming up in a second.
So we'll see you guys
So
next
we'll see
time,
you
whenever it is,
guys.
Bobby and Nadia. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. See
Appreciate
you.
y'all.
right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. Well,
was great.
That was amazing.
I mean, I feel like I'm married to an entrepreneur.
You think so?
Yes.
No.
No. What are you talking about? Are we not entrepreneurs?
I mean,
You were supposed to say, yeah, I'm married to one too. I thought you were just going
my
to get that.
bad.
Wow. So this is not an entrepreneur. We don't have.
We do,
So
but
I don't understand.
I actually thought you were saying
That was very confusing.
I actually thought
just
you were
now.
you were saying that you agree with everything Nadia said. That
Why are you getting? Why you
I was
trying to?
I was just getting defensive. You know what I'm saying?
You're supposed to say, yeah, I think I am too. Wow. Okay, I won't go there.
So
anyway,
we'll talk about who was in your house. All right, this is who was in our house.
So-
this is James Lewis. You know what?
This is.
I think we might be
We
able to
did-
just move over and let James come up
James,
in.
come on. You can move that, and we'll
move
just
it out of the
introduce
way.
him with this. Can I press that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Live from Washington, D.C., you are listening to Just John and April on the Lance J Radio Network.
Move closer.
I got
in,
that
come on in.
spaghetti breath.
Come on in. Come on in.
You
Listen,
got
we
you
all-
got to
No,
be
we
in
good.
focus, man. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, you got to be in focus.
So we want to know. You said you had something to share with us about
So
your
you need to
perspective
introduce him
on
again
relationship.
because he came in on the beginning.
This is
you know.
James Lewis, who is the man from the Lance J Radio Network. He's the guy whose radio network we are on. He is here on the radio in Washington, D.C., 5 days a week, and he's asked us to join him on Wednesdays. And of course, the answer was absolutely yes. And he's here this week
And
doing some business.
He has a podcast as well, guys. His show is really good.
It is.
It's very entertaining.
It's excellent.
He's got some good stuff to say, and sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree.
So give me an example of something
Yeah.
that you disagreed with.
Did
Did you disagree with my take on like Naomi Osaka and she
No,
was milking her?
I don't think she had a problem with that. I think there was
Simone
one.
Biles.
there was-
Because with Simone Biles, she wasn't needing mental health when she came back and she had her medals and she was waving.
Wow, see, I have a problem with that.
When Naomi Osaka signed a $50 million deal with Japan Airlines, she wasn't worried about her mental health then.
Listen, you
good
can't,
point.
you can't do that.
I'm
You
just
cannot
saying
do that.
I'm just saying that.
How do you know?
I don't know. I mean, none of us really
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
But I do think that athletes, and I've ripped them. I've ripped Kyrie Irving.
Yes, you
I've
have.
ripped. So I'm not a women basher.
No, I know
It's
you're
just
not. I know you're
know,
not.
It's not gender. It's not race. I think that in sports, you have to perform. That's your job. If you don't perform, it doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. So those losers that sent stuff out on the gram to Simone Biles, that you're a traitor, that you're worthless, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
people
Yeah.
are 400-pound people that live in their parents' basement. But it is okay for me, being the sports media, to rip you if you don't perform.
Right.
Like,
Yes,
I have a
yes.
right to rip you.
I agree
You're
with
right.
that.
My
No,
job.
listen,
That
that's
doesn't
why.
mean that I hate black women.
No.
I love black women. That doesn't mean that I hate black women. It just means that I'm doing my job as a
Right,
reporter. You have a
right.
to ask. So I think there was one. Naomi Osaka didn't play well. She lost to. She's top 5 tennis player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
She lost to someone that was like ranked 150th, and she was being interviewed. And I felt that the person asked her very reasonable questions.
Right, and then she didn't want to answer.
And she didn't want to answer him. She cried, and it's okay to cry. That's not a sign of weakness. That's definitely not a sign of weakness. But people were ripping the reporter, calling him a bully, and all of this stuff. Well, you can't ask her that question because she's going through something. And I'm like, no, that's bull bleep. Like, you can ask the question as long as it's within a reasonable context and a respectful context. So we don't really know what's going on in someone's mind. But it's very interesting that people screw up and then they say, it's just like Ben Simmons, because I did a whole show on Ben Simmons. If you follow sports, Ben Simmons in the playoffs, like, he had a layup that even I could make, as fat and old and out of shape as I am.
They want you to
And
come
he was
up.
like a
They want you
foot
to come
away.
up.
He was like a foot away from the rim.
Right.
And he passed the ball. Like, he was having a mental breakdown.
Right.
So he said, I can't play because I'm not having good mental health. But you signed a contract for $200 million. You were complaining about your mental health then.
Right.
I'm just saying that when you are at these high stakes, there's a lot of pressure involved, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
Simone Biles is a little different. If she screws up, she can break her neck.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a little different
Hit
for
the
her. I'm like, you don't got to
twisties or
play.
whatever. Yeah, the
I'm like, you got all of these gold medals.
Exactly.
You don't owe us nothing.
Right.
But some of these other people, it's just like,
You felt
I
like
don't-
it was an excuse they were making.
I don't always want to go to work.
Right.
It's just people that are doing dental surgery.
Right.
You don't even go to work. I'm sure sometimes you're out there pastoring, John, you don't
Right.
feel so crisp.
Right.
You're going into the sermon,
Every
you're like,
Sunday.
I'm about to F this up today. Like, I don't know if anyone's
I've
coming
never said
down
that.
for the altar call, but you got up there and you did what you had to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that
They really want to see him.
Talking about because he's blurry?
Yeah.
There we
Here,
go.
you know what? You sit. You need to
No,
sit in
I'm
my
right
seat.
here, I'm right
You
here.
need to sit in my seat. Come on. Come sit in my seat.
I'm not worthy.
So I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna say
Wow.
that is what I love about Lance, is that he's going to say whatever he wants to say, and I appreciate that.
Well, my thing is, what are your perspectives on relationship that you were going to say? What was that you wanted to talk about there?
I think because you were talking, and so that was a fantastic read for me.
So what, just now?
Yes.
Reading that
I've
episode?
never listened to someone and read the feedback.
sorry, baby.
So it's very funny because I can't hear anything.
Right.
So I'm in my phone.
Right.
And John and April are having this great conversation.
Right.
And I'm trying to piece it together because there's a little bit, it's like a 3-second delay.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out what the conversation is. But I think that, so as an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. I walked away from, an executive job at Blue Cross to start my dream, which is now your dream, our dream. And the biggest concern that I had, I saved up a lot of money, but providing is really important. So I'm an old school person. I just think that men do have to provide and have to be a part of the strategy. What I love about the couples that the two of you talk to, and I'll give you an example. I was with you and you had Julian and Kalab on the show. I've seen Julian go and defend our country. I've seen Kalab muscle up and take care of the family. Now Julian's pushing Kalab. He's like, hey, it's your
next
turn.
thing
that you're about to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what a true relationship should be.
Right.
Is April, you're driving the bus for a few years, and then something changes. Then John's gonna drive the bus, and then it's always the level up. But I think at the fundamental basis, as a man, I want to provide, and I'm moving into a space where I not only want to provide for my immediate family, I want to provide for my whole family in a generational perspective.
Yeah.
So that's really my thoughts about it. Is just I'm always leery when I have male friends that don't have an instinct to provide. And I don't think that providing is gender specific all the way.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that think that a woman can't provide. It would be ridiculous if the woman's an anesthesiologist and the man is working a double shift at 7-Eleven.
Right.
For him to be like, look, baby, I know that you're saving lives and stuff, but you don't have to. I'm running this. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, you run it. I go back to school, and then when I get my degree or whatever, then I'm doing the next thing. But I do think that it's important, especially in the African American community, for men to feel a sense that they want to provide for their family.
And
I don't think they should put the pressure
Right.
to say that if I'm not making 6 figures, I'm not Kevin Samuelsing it. I'm not saying you're not a high value man, that you're a nobody. But I do think that we see a dynamic a lot now in what's going on. I was just talking to my uncle about this. People are not willing to work for low wages anymore after COVID. They'd rather not work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you're building a strategy. You're like this, building a podcast, you're building things. But it's important for me to provide. And it's important from a family perspective, too.
I agree. Okay, so
Yeah.
so you're in a relationship.
Yeah, I don't talk about that on the I don't talk about that, so we're not gonna get on that. She's not gonna
You
hear
was
about
about
that.
to go down the question.
No, I'm not going to ask you a bunch of questions. I'm just saying, if you decide that you want to go further, do you think that
Can't go any further.
this person, do you think that this person that you're dating, if they had a different instinct about a male and providing, do you think that would be like a, what do you call it, a non-negotiable? Do you think your position on a male and providing and how you feel about it from a traditional standpoint is something that is important enough to you that it's like a make or break type situation if the other person that you're in a relationship with doesn't agree with your perspective on that? Do you understand my question?
I do.
Okay.
They're talking about we need a name.
No, I'm not trying. We're not trying to give names, nothing like that. No, we're not trying to, you know what I'm saying, blow nothing up. You know what I'm saying?
I think that it is important to be aligned there.
You think it's important to be aligned there? Okay.
It's important to be
Okay.
aligned
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm not a caveman.
Okay.
Now, what do you mean by that?
He thinks it's important for him that the person that he's with has alignment with his thinking on that perspective.
Yes.
I think that's
Brian,
what he's saying.
Brian Thompson, where's the popcorn?
You got lower his
Yeah, I
toes.
mean, I think that it's very important that people are on the same page.
Okay.
So
And that's one of the areas you think
I would
should
say
be.
to me that I want to take care of my significant other. You know, I don't want her to lift a finger. You know, I want her. I want her to live like a queen.
Yeah.
I want to have the finances to where it's like, do you want the $700 pair of shoes or the $1,300
Me,
pair of shoes?
hello.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
But I have learned over time in relationships and current relationship, I had to learn that that's not necessarily what she wants. So I'm sitting here like, yo, I'm gonna get you this Louis bag. Well, I don't want the Louis bag. I actually want more of your time.
Wow.
I'd rather watch Law and Order with you.
Okay.
So I mean, I've learned to evolve and understand. That's something that I didn't
good.
maybe understand, maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really understanding your partner and what drives that.
I
person.
agree.
I
Okay,
like
so
that.
so last question. You're here doing some business.
I'm here doing business.
Can you share any of
Got me
that?
under a hot light.
We do have that highlight. That's true. Can you share
hot.
any of the? Is it possible to share anything that's next? Like what are you building? What do you plan? Because listen,
Yes.
you're a builder. You have a plan. You're definitely
I
a
don't
different
talk about
kind.
my business on Facebook, man. It's not. Everybody knows what's going on with me, who I love,
Okay, so now the
who I would die
questions
for,
are coming in now.
who I adore, and all of that stuff. I just don't talk about it.
He
on
talking about
Facebook.
Lisa, Angela, Pamela, Renee.
We're not. Well, I think it's more cute. In the words of Q-Tip, what did Q-Tip say? From fat to skinny, freedom to Winnie, Elma to Cindy, Constance to Winnie. But yeah,
Bobby
just
talking about Nadia
don't
wants
get
the
it
Louis
twisted.
bag.
Don't get it twisted and think that I'm not trying to talk about stuff because I have a no family
You have
policy
boundaries
on Facebook.
I agree with that.
And if you
So-
listen to the
so-
show, I don't talk about my family.
I know that.
Yes.
I know
So
that.
Because I'm not letting. Can I say MFer? In
No.
paraphrase,
Yes.
I'm not letting you motor scooters. If you ever watched, I'm not
We
letting
know
you
what
motor
that is.
scooters popcorn my personal life. Right? I'm not letting y'all.
So
do
this
that.
is not
I
too
didn't learn-
personal, but what if,
I didn't
as
learn that.
as Naomi said, what if she wants to work and has goals? Are you okay with that?
No, I'm okay with anything. I'm here to support my queen, and so what I'm saying is, I had. When I was younger and less mature, I'm like, yo, I've been blessed to make decent money. I've been an executive and made good money. So I've always been in a situation in most of my adult life where if I was married, my wife would not have to work. So I think I used that in a bad way because my attitude was like, hey, you don't have to work, and I'm not one of those controlling guys. It's just, hey, here's the money. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You come and go as you please. And so I thought that I had a better perspective because of that.
Wow.
And I felt that because my career was popping, that I had the right to go to my partner and say, well, your career isn't as important. And I've learned that that's not true.
Yeah.
And it's not about the money. It's not even about the time. It's about pursuing your goals.
Yeah.
So there are goals that if my significant other wants to pursue, ultimately, that's the most important thing to me in the world.
That's a beautiful thing.
I like that.
That's a
More
lot
important than money.
That's a lot of growth.
It is like
More important than money, more important than title, more important than stature. I want her to feel, I want to support her so she feels that she can fly. And whatever I can do to support that, then I'm gonna support it. May I agree with it completely? Not necessarily, but I appreciate that, Primo. Yeah, I've been my hat game. My hat game is something of legends, man. It's just,
He definitely has a hat game.
I interviewed John Gorman, man. I interviewed some of the biggest CEOs in healthcare wearing a fitted, and that's kind of my. And I'm bald AF. So, and I'm not as good looking as John, so my head's a little lumpy. So I've gotta do that. But back to so the business tip.
Listen to Dana.
We're in the process. So John and April are a part of Paragon 7 Studios team, and we are working with Radio 1, Urban 1 here in DC, and we're talking about, getting the show syndicated. We're working with them on syndicating the show, really doing some things in healthcare, and hopefully becoming one of the brand ambassadors for healthcare. I do a show that's very germane to healthcare and healthcare policy and things like that. And it's unique because it has a hip hop vibe, it has a sports vibe, but we really transitioned into healthcare. And I ran a $1 billion health plan, so at the executive level, I know what all of that stuff is. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get Urban One and to give us more markets. We've talked to them about being on in Houston, Charlotte, where else? Atlanta, Philly, and all of those places. And really what we want to do is ultimately be some of the faces. What John and April do is so much bigger than just counseling for marriages, which is important, but it's a part of the mental health care continuum.
Yeah.
And the mental health care continuum is funded by the federal government. And so I see people doing podcasts and doing radio, and I'm like, you're trying to be a motivational speaker. There's a lot of motivational speaking opportunity, but there's much more opportunity to be a part of the healthcare continuum with the federal government. So health plans, which I have run, they have monies and earmarked opportunities for counseling and for different campaigns. And, I want to be a leader in building those things. Urban One is the largest Black-owned platform in the United States. So just the mere fact that we're in early phases of these conversations and we have a seat at the table, that's God's blessing. Not a reflection of me or a reflection of John and April. God has opened those doors. But we really want to build and have kind of a syndicated platform and really do healthcare advocacy and kind of be one of the consultants to Urban One, Radio One, TV One for healthcare. So we've had those meetings. We are hoping to, it's in the early stages, but we're hoping to build something out. We're hoping that, this time next year that we'll be in a dozen markets and you guys will have your own separate show and not just doing, a few minutes a week with me. And we want to bring in other people and other talent. It's really about Black excellence. It's about sharing the wealth. It's about putting other people on. And, I've been doing radio for about 6 years now. And it's been a bless. I started this with a podcast on YouTube with 36 listeners.
Wow.
So I started this in 2005. YouTube, moved to ESPN, moved to NBC. Now we're Urban One, and
how many listeners do you have now?
The best week we had, we got real close to 100,000.
Wow.
Okay.
We usually do about 50 to 60 a week.
That's good.
And we fought very hard for all of those listeners, and we're nothing without our listeners. So rather, shout out to WOL here in DC, which is Urban One's flagship. I'm on after Sharpton. That's an honor.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like you got Al Sharpton on, and then you got this goofy Negro within myself. Shout out to Free Agent Radio, my man DJ Cam. Shout out to my man DJ Rampage, the first lieutenant of the Universal Flip Mode Squad, who's really my co-host and DJ, does all the mixing. Shout out to just everybody that's been a part of this. Somebody asked, you can find me, just go to Apple iTunes, Lance J Radio Network. I podcast every show. So if we have my man Isaac Palmer, who many of you from Oakwood know, is a co-host, and he talks about mental health. So we're just out here. Brian Goodine never passed the rock to anybody. Brian was taking many shots as he possibly could take. But John and April, and before we close, one thing I want to say and especially in the Adventist community, the Oakwood community, I see a lot. So a lot of people doing podcasts, a lot of people doing stuff, and I've been saying we're stronger as a unit than we are singular.
Wow.
I don't need any of you. I already have a deal with Urban One.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
John and April are so talented. They make my show better. You're talking about 20 plus years of marriage, going through thick and thin, kids, cancer survivor, sex, playing video games all night like you guys told me about. I was just downstairs talking to your son saying he had 2 steals tonight.
Oh, he's
You know what
back.
I'm saying? Yeah, he's
Okay.
back.
I didn't know who was
Bringing
bringing him
in
home.
other people is valuable. You know, if you're listening to this, if you're part of the, specifically the Black Adventist community, there's Motown level talent in this community.
So true.
Yes, true.
So true.
We could all do this thing separate and be successful, but if we clicked up and joined together, we could own the world.
That's true.
And that's always been my perspective. That's why I want to work with you guys. That's why it's a
Yes.
blessing to have you guys. I've had great people that have inspired me and been a part of this, and people come, people go. But I see everyone. I just implore people work together, man. You know, we have the opportunity to be Urban One. You know, we have the opportunity to have our own thing. So you know, it's just a pleasure working with you guys. I'm very proud of what you're doing. You know, John and April, they're awesome on the mic. They're great people. John makes a fantastic spaghetti.
Oh, that was April. I just microwaved.
Oh,
You
okay.
know what
Well,
I'm saying?
he's
That's all
very
I
good
did.
at
He can
microwave.
take the credit. It's okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's you know, that's my message with y'all. There's just talent out there. But yeah, if you want to peep the show, you know, go to Apple Podcasts, Lance J Radio Network. We're on WOL DC. It's kind of our biggest affiliate right now. Go to the WOL app. 95.9 if you live in DC. I'm on every day at 7 p.m. Talking craziness.
Yes, and we love it. We
Well,
love it.
thanks,
My
Lance.
pleasure.
Glad you could be
Thanks
here
for
in
having me.
person, man.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
No doubt.
And
Means a lot.
yeah, man. Well, I don't know. I
So
guess
good
we just
night.
close the show from here. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
There is no who won John and April whatever
No.
tonight. You know what I'm saying?
We all won. We
You know
all
what I'm saying?
winning together.
All right, you're right. I have to put it on there. You know what I'm saying? Just because. You know what I'm saying?
Enjoy.
Whatever. You don't have to do nothing with that.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see y'all next week. We're going to be back here at 9 o'clock again next week. You know what's so funny? The camera seems to know who's good looking. Because when James was in the middle, it wouldn't
my
focus.
goodness.
Now that April's in the middle, the camera can't
It's only
stop
because-
focusing on her.
Smart
You know what I'm
camera.
saying? The camera knows what it's doing. That's
It was
the
just
point.
staying on who it was on.
No, that's not what it is. The camera knows who's
Look
good
at Will
looking.
Thomas,
You
the
know what I'm saying?
longest show ever.
Them Sony 8
Bye,
cameras.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, they work, man. You know what I'm
Hi,
saying?
Mommy. I saw you on earlier.
Anyway, we'll see y'all next week right here, 9 o'clock. And our podcast has moved to Mondays. So we'll see you on Monday on our podcast on YouTube. All right? Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. That experience.
So Bobby and them still on. Let me go back.